Hey, it's NPR's Book of the Day. I'm Andrew Limbong. It's only getting brighter from here. We are on the other side of the winter solstice, and so every day will be a little longer, a little bit brighter, until, of course, we get past summer and start it all over again and barrel towards the shortest day of the year. Writer Susan Cooper and illustrator Carson Ellis have a 2019 kids book titled just that, The Shortest Day. NPR producer Samantha Balaban got them together to talk about making the book, which we aired during this most recent winter solstice. After the break, NPR Scott Simon sets it up, and then Cooper and Ellis take it from there.
This message comes from Intuit TurboTax. Now, taxes is matching with an expert backed by tech to get you the most money back at TurboTax.com. Experts only available with TurboTax Live. See guarantee details at TurboTax.com/guarantees. This message comes from Mint Mobile. From the gas pump to the grocery store, inflation is everywhere. So Mint Mobile is offering premium wireless starting at just $15 a month. To get your new phone plan for just $15, go to mintmobile.com/switch.
So the shortest day came, and the year died. And everywhere down the centuries of the snow-white world came people singing, dancing, to drive the dark away.
Today, December 21st, is the shortest day of the year in the Northern Hemisphere.
They lighted candles in the winter trees. They hung their homes with evergreen. They burned beseeching fires all night long to keep the year alive.
For more than 40 years, people have been reading and performing Susan Cooper's poem, The Shortest Day, to celebrate the winter solstice.
And when the New Year's sunshine blazed awake, they shouted, reveling. Down all the frosty ages you can hear them, echoing behind us. Listen.
Now, that poem is a children's book.
It's a family celebration of the light coming back after the dark threatens to take over the world.
We've been asking authors and illustrators how they work together or work separately to translate words into pictures. For The Shortest Day, Susan Cooper collaborated with Carson Ellis, the illustrator, by mail.
I said in a letter to Carson that there is no story in this poem. We have to put the story in the pictures. So it's up to you, kid. And she certainly did.
It was one long, beautiful, very forthright, kind of daunting letter that Susan wrote to me, kind of telling me what she wanted the book to be able to do. And it completely changed the direction I was going in. And it was really daunting. I read the letter and thought, oh, gosh, this is a much harder book.
Oh, dear.
My initial response was that I wanted it to look sort of like a Brugel painting. If you know who Brugel is, he's like a 16th century painter. He painted this really famous painting called Hunters in the Snow, I think. A lot of people would recognize it. And he painted a lot of medieval scenes and a lot of great winter scenes. So I had this idea that I could kind of set the poem against the backdrop of medieval life and sort of chock it full of medieval details, so there would be a lot to glean about a life in medieval Northern Europe from the book. That was kind of my initial response to it. But I started to mock this book up in this way that had these kind of merry villagers reveling on their way to a solstice celebration. And I sent it to Susan to ask her some questions. I had questions about the chronology of the poem, and I had questions about the history of the solstice. So we had this exchange, and when she saw these kind of cheerful, lighthearted illustrations, she kind of corrected me and said, that's not really what this book is about. It's a book about deeper and more serious stuff, to paraphrase her. Just basically this sense that long ago, those shortening days, along with them came a lot of dread associated with the cold and starvation. And actually, I feel like Susan should be talking about what this book is about. So I'm going to stop here.
The pictures show you not just the shortest day, they show you the way the light gradually gets less and less as the year diminishes towards the end. Carson does this beautifully by having 3 or 4 pictures before the poem even starts, showing you the sun weakening as the year goes on, and the dread that this used to bring in the minds of primitive peoples, until the sun comes up again after the shortest day, which is the beginning of hope. And the pictures manage to take you through time so that you are seeing those peasants from the Brugel painting, but you are also seeing the same feelings echoed right up to the present day.
And I would add also that idea of starting with those wordless spreads was actually Susan's idea when we were initially talking about how to do the book. I think she said something like, that it's a pretty short poem and we have 32 pages. Do we have to initially jump right into the text? And it was such an obvious and brilliant way to start the book. I was sort of embarrassed that I hadn't thought of it myself as the illustrator.
It's a great idea. I didn't think of it myself either. I stole it from my daughter.
Oh.
So we're both indebted.
Another thing I love about this book is that as a kid, I grew up in a really secular Jewish household. We celebrated Christmas and Hanukkah, but the general joy of the holidays associated with the birth of Christ was sort of lost on me. So this book helped me understand a little bit the joy of those winter holidays. It's more universal, and it really is just kind of light triumphing over darkness, and light is always a cause to celebrate.
And I have an echo from my childhood, I think, because I was a kid during World War II in England, and the long, dark nights were the nights that brought the Nazi bombers over, when we would be sitting in our air raid shelter underneath the back lawn with Mum reading books to us by the light of a candle. And when the bombs came closer, the candle would shake. And it's the obviously subconscious echo of that, I think, has gone all through my writing life. And in this poem, particularly in this book, the line at the end of the book, people carol, feast, give thanks, and dearly love their friends, and hope for peace. Don't we all?
Susan Cooper and Carson Ellis, the Newbery and Caldecott Award-winning author and illustrator, talking about their book, The Shortest Day.
This message comes from Sony Pictures Classics presenting The Room Next Door, the first English-language feature film by Pedro Almodovar starring Julianne Moore and Tilda Swinton. After years of being out of touch, two friends meet again in an extreme but strangely sweet situation. Winner of the Golden Lion for Best Film at the Venice Film Festival, The Room Next Door is now playing in select cities, coming soon to theaters nationwide. This message comes from Bombas. Socks, underwear, and T-shirts are the top 3 requested clothing items by people experiencing homelessness. Bombas makes all 3 and donates 1 item for every item purchased. Go to bombas.com/NPR and use code NPR for 20% off. Support for NPR and the following message come from Boll & Branch. Change your sleep with the softness of Boll & Branch's 100% organic cotton sheets. Feel the difference with 15% off your first set of sheets at bollandbranch.com with code NPR. Exclusions apply. See site for details.